welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and some not-so-good news coming in today for your Houston Texans. Jalen Pitre missed the second half of that Texans-Titans game. Came out today. He's going to miss multiple weeks with a pectoral injury, and they're going to call it a partial tear. So, looks like he kind of dodged a bullet with it being a full tear, but he's getting further MRIs to see whether or not he should get surgery or hold it off towards the end of the season. Now, a quick reminder, I'm filming this Monday afternoon. So if any other news comes out between now and the time I put this out on Tuesday morning, well, hopefully y'all can take that with a grain of salt. But for now, regardless of if he needs surgery or not, if he's going to come back or if this is the end of his season, type those fives for Jalen Pitre, man, because he had a bounce-back year. I mean, not enough can be said about how well Pitre did this season compared to last. I mean, we were all, really worried about him in the offseason, and he came out this season with something to prove, and he did prove that. He proved that he is a baller, he is an absolute menace, and he is going to give it all for this team. And I am proud to say Jalen Pitre was on this Texans team this season. If you agree with me, type those fives in the comment section. I know a lot of Texans players, people watch this video. If he comes across it, I want to see that 5 in the comment section. And speaking of 5, Texans' final 5 games. This week, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then obviously they have a bye week. Then the Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, and Titans. So missing multiple weeks. Could that mean he comes back for the Chiefs game, the Ravens game, or, which I think this is the most likely, if he does come back this season and doesn't require season-ending surgery, I could see him waiting until coming back either in that Week 18 game or during the first week of the playoffs. So hopefully Jalen Pitre, everything is good. Like I said, spam those 5s down below. Jalen, if you're watching, hoping everything is okay and wishing you a speedy recovery. But Jalen also wasn't the only Texan who got injured up against the Titans. Ka'dar Hollman, a reserve cornerback, another guy who's been off and on this team, who's helped out throughout last year and this year. He's out with a torn ACL. So we will see no more of Ka'dar Hollman for the rest of this season either, which begs the question, could the Texans add some free agents to help bolster this secondary? With 2 guys out now, makes sense. It makes sense. Even if Jalen Pitre is able to come back, he's missing multiple weeks, which tells me probably more than 2. I think the Texans need to add somebody. And the first name that's going to be on everybody's mind, and I've mentioned him ad nauseum this year, is going to be Xavien Howard. The cornerback, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, last year had 45 tackles, 12 pass breakups, and an interception. Recently put out a tape of him working out saying he's ready to go. Has been linked with Houston a ton, said he would love to come back to Houston where he once, grew up and, come back and play for the Houston Texans. Does that happen? I know he has a lot of off-the-field stuff. I wouldn't mind the Texans going out and signing Xavien Howard to help shore up this unit. He could take over that nickel role that Jalen Pitre played in, or possibly, as we see a lot of older cornerbacks do, maybe transition into a safety-like role. I think those could help Xavien Howard, possibly if he signs with the Houston Texans. But coming up, I have 5 more safety free agents to look at. But before we get into those, guys, got to tell you about the sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And we're not just talking football, folks. We're also talking basketball. We're talking hockey, talking MMA, tennis. They got it all over there on Prize Picks. Whatever tickles your fancy, they have something for you. And they have a special going on for Thanksgiving week. Gobble, 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 gobble. 1 yard equals a win. Tyreek Hill. They have it. Normally, it would be 85.5 yards. They have it cut down to 0.5 receiving yards. So, I'm telling you, easy money, folks. Put it in your lineups this week for Thanksgiving. Fill your stomachs and fill your pockets with Prize Picks this week. Download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, here are some of the top defensive backs the Texans could sign if they're looking to bolster this roster. First up, Terrell Edmunds. He actually worked out with the Bears this past week, a safety formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was told by our Steelers host, Terrell Edmunds, a little bit of burnt toast. So if you're looking for a guy who's really sure on the back end, I don't know if Terrell Edmunds is that guy, but has a lot of experience, is one of the more seasoned guys in the free agent market for the Houston Texans. Could be an interesting name, at least to bring in for a workout, Terrell Edmunds. Another guy who has some history with the Houston Texans, Eddie Jackson. Another guy who, veteran, been around the league, could be a decent name as a, safety on the back end. The Texans signed him and this next guy coming up last year whenever they needed some safety help. Eddie Jackson or possibly an Adrian Amos recently spent time on the 49ers practice squad, elevated for a game, and then ended up being released. But last year, 1 pass breakup, 28 tackles. Another guy who, a veteran, not going to wow you with anything crazy, but at least somebody who, if you need somebody who's competent, Adrian Amos, Eddie Jackson are 2 guys where I think they can get it done if you absolutely need somebody to step in on a short-term notice. Another seasoned guy, Micah Hyde, could be a good name for this Texans team, formerly of the Buffalo Bills. Micah Hyde had some really good seasons there in Buffalo, and last year the stats don't look too crazy. I mean, 54 tackles, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. Not too shabby for somebody who's still a free agent. Now, yes, all these guys are a little bit older, and if you're going to sign anybody at this point in the season, it's not going to be a slam dunk. But I think Micah Hyde could be a good name to add to this Texans team if you need some secondary help. And the last name, and a surprise one, but I think this one might be the best fit for the Texans, Patrick Peterson. Last year, played with the Pittsburgh Steelers in a nickel star role. But I think also Patrick Peterson played a little bit of safety last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, I think he could fit really well with what the Texans need right now. A former cornerback, a really smart player. I don't know how much in shape he is. Obviously, we're at this point in the season, and he hasn't played all year. But if he's healthy, if he's in shape, I mean, he's a very smart player. I wouldn't mind having a guy like Patrick Peterson come onto this team and help us with a playoff run or help us towards the end of the year. These are the 5 guys that I would look at least bringing in for a workout or consider signing alongside Xavien Howard. But like I said at the top of the show, hopefully Jalen Pitre is okay making this Monday night. Hopefully he's good to go, because he's been playing some amazing ball for the Houston Texans. And what we saw out of Eric Murray this past week up against the Titans was not very good. So hopefully the Texans are able to add somebody or, move something around, because Jalen Pitre's out for a good amount of time this year or for the rest of the season. It could spell trouble for this Texans defense.